I recently read the 1973 novel The Princess Bride by William Goldman, and then I watched the 1987 movie The Princess Bride, directed by Rob Reiner. We'll compare the two, see how they're like, see how they're different, and at the end of this video, I'll tell you which one I liked better. This video will contain minor spoilers about both the book and the movie, so here's your warning. The Princess Bride is one of my favorite movies from my childhood. I recently watched it on Disney+. It's available there, and it's only about 90 minutes long, which is refreshing. And part of the reason I love this movie so much is that the characters are so great. And of course, William Goldman gets the credit for creating those characters. The actors in this movie do such a marvelous job bringing these characters to life. You got Cary Elwes as Wesley, and he is an underrated comedic actor. I know he did this, and he was great in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And then Robin Wright, I believe this is her first movie ever. She plays Princess Buttercup. Mandy Patinkin as Inigo. He's got to be my favorite character in the entire movie. I love his character so much. Andre the Giant as Fezzik, Wallace Shawn as Vizzini, so funny. Chris Sarandon as Humperdinck, Christopher Guest as Count Rugen. Just so many great performances. A quick note about Wallace Shawn as Vizzini. I know I said Inigo is my favorite character, but Vizzini's got to be a close second. Just Wallace Shawn, his delivery of his lines.
He didn't fall? Inconceivable.
So funny, and my favorite scene has got to be the battle of wits between Wesley and Vizzini.
So I can clearly not choose the wine in front of me.
Part of the reason I say Inigo is my favorite character in the whole movie is because I think as an audience member, you feel the most empathy for him because he's really dealt with a tragedy. His father was killed right in front of his eyes, and his whole life goal since then has been to avenge his father's death. And I think that's the most powerful character arc in the entire movie. Sure, Wesley and Buttercup are the central characters, but they're just kind of almost like a teenage romance story, which is fine, and you root for them, of course, but somebody who wants to avenge their father's death is much more powerful. And then my favorite scene in the whole movie has got to be when Inigo finally confronts Count Rugen and kills him.
I want my father back, you son of a bitch.
That scene is just so freaking rewarding to watch, and Mandy Patinkin's performance is amazing.
Hello! My name is Inigo Montoya!
The movie itself is nearly identical to the book, except for a few small differences. So the movie is a story within a story, which I think is really cool. It starts off with a young Fred Savage, sick in bed, and his grandfather, played by Peter Falk, comes in and reads him a story called The Princess Bride. The book, however, is slightly different. The author, William Goldman, does talk about how his father would read him The Princess Bride when he was a little kid. That's all made up, of course, but then he grows up and realizes that he wants to read this book to his son, but he doesn't have a copy, so he goes on this quest to find a copy of this book, and he finally gets his hands on one, and he realizes that there's a lot in the book that his father left out. He realizes his dad only read him the fun parts of the book, so he then publishes an abridged copy of the book, which is what you get in the actual novel, The Princess Bride. Goldman makes a lot of attempts at humor throughout this book, and this book is known as a fairy tale comedy, and a lot of the humor is in the form of these parenthetical asides that Goldman inserts throughout the book. And some of them landed, they made me laugh, and a lot of them didn't. I actually got a little tired of the parenthetical asides throughout the book. I thought they were a little overused. I would say probably the other biggest difference between the book and the movie is that in the book there's this thing called the Zoo of Death, and it is Prince Humperdinck's 5-layer underground dungeon filled with exotic, dangerous animals. At the bottom layer is where they torture Wesley with the machine, which is in the movie, but there are 4 layers above that, again, filled with dangerous animals. It is because Humperdinck is obsessed with hunting and dangerous animals. Anyway, I can understand why they left that out of the movie, because obviously you'd have to spend a lot more money on real live animals or special effects, and the zoo itself isn't really essential to the plot, so it makes sense that they left that out. The machine that they use to torture Wesley with that sucks years of your life away, there's this great moment in the movie where Prince Humperdinck comes down in a rage and pushes the lever all the way to 50.
Not to 50!
In the book, though, the machine only goes up to 20, not to 50, so you get that same scene, but instead of not to 50, it's not to 20. My favorite scene in this movie has got to be the fencing duel between Wesley and Inigo.
You're using Bonetti's defense against me, huh?
I thought it fitting, considering the rocky terrain.
There's such great banter between the two. They really play off each other well. There's so many great stunts in that scene. The atmosphere and the sets that were created for this movie are really well done, especially the fire swamp. And this has got to be my favorite scene in the whole movie, is the battle between Wesley and the ROUS, the rodent of unusual size. All right, I really enjoyed the book by William Goldman. It's good, but in my opinion, the movie is great. I want to hear from you. Have you read the book or seen the movie? Comment below, tell me your thoughts. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel and click the bell. See you later.